Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another items of the week. My name is Laura Williamson. I'm with the Collections Department in Minnesota Historical Society, and we are here with a special guest star this week. It's myself and my friend and colleague Sandra Ryerson in 3D as always. But this week we get the photo curator Jennifer Hubscher. Yay!
Hi.
Because this week's theme. Well, it's kind of pets and kind of animals. Actually, it's cats and dogs. Because one of the few kind of good things that has come out of the COVID-19 experience is that a lot of animals have been adopted from shelters because people are at home and bored and need a challenge or want a friend or whatever. So, but that's a kind of a great thing. So we were thinking about pets, and then we're like, well, people love animals, so why not give the people what they want? So we're going to show you a couple different things from different collecting areas, but that's why Jen's here, because we have so many crazy, awesome photos of animals, but especially dogs and cats. Ladies, would you like to tell me a little bit more about what we see here, please?
So I'm going to jump in here real quick. The Cat Video Festival, of course, everyone remembers this. I believe it started at the State Fairgrounds, and then eventually the Walker Art Museum took it over. We have a 2013 Cat Video Festival trophy here. And this is one of my favorites because my cat keeps showing up during my meetings.
So this here is Miss Dorothy Mashik of Minneapolis. And in 1937, she had an award-winning Scottish Terrier. All those trophies are ones that he won in the year. He was fresh off a win in Kansas City and was written up because he was recognized by the American Kennel Club. All right, so we've got some pets that have been kind of anthropomorphized. So we've got, these are both actually by a photographer, Louis Enstrom of Chippewa County. And he loved to photograph people and locations around the township where he lived. He's got a lot of images of his family and of the family pets. And so these are two unique ones. We've got the dog with glasses and a hat looking very distinguished. And then a cat just luxuriating in a bed with shoes and a hat at the side. So yeah, we've got a nice size collection of his. I'd encourage people to check it out.
When I worked in the library, the Gale Family Library at the Minnesota History Center, we had that on the wall for the staff to enjoy.
It's still there. It's still there. All right.
So these objects, we've got a cat collar, the bedazzled cat collar from the 1960s. And then the Mary Janes I thought were pretty adorable. I have a black cat, and these Mary Janes would complement him very well. He was just making an appearance as well. And then the sunglasses, these are cat eye sunglasses, but the best part is that they were worn by Anne Bancroft when she went to the North Pole. Anne was really diligent about sharing her experiences with school kids. So she was sending out all kinds of information from the expedition. This slide is dog booties and of course a jacket worn by sled dogs on a couple of different expeditions. One was the same expedition to the North Pole, and the other was the Trans-Antarctic expedition that Will Seeger was also a part of. So this goes back in time a bit. So those last pieces were from the 1980s, but this is from the 1850s. This is a toboggan that was pulled by dogs from Canada to Minnesota. So 400 miles by sled in the 1850s. It's pretty impressive trip.
And one I would not want to make.
No, but was pretty frequently made in the 1850s.
So this photo here isn't that exact sled, but it's a similar one. Also from Pembina, the Fort Garry, where a lot of fur trade action there. Hudson's Bay Company had an outpost there. And so this was taken in St. Paul, I believe, currently West 7th Street. Oh. And so this is from 1859 and one of the earliest images in our collection to feature dogs.
Yay!
Oh yeah, and these, I I had to include them because cats and dogs, but wow, these are odd. So the 1878 Christmas card with the cat in the Elizabethan collar reads, "Hang sorrow, care will kill a cat, and therefore let's be merry." I feel like humor has changed a bit, but that's actually a quote from a 1598 Ben Jonson play, and that's why the cat is wearing this weird Elizabethan collar. And then the postcard is Snoopy, of course, and in Swedish it says, "Yes, you must live. Yes, you must live." And I don't have any more context for that.
I don't actually. We should have a voting thing about which one's weirder. Okay,
It'll be a tight race.
Yeah, seriously, because they're both very strange, but I love them.
Here we have food and drink. So the 1981 beer can there is from an Anoka County Humane Society event. It was a week called Be Kind to Animals, and the beer was produced for that week. And then, of course, there's the 1960s dog cookie cutter. So we've talked about beer and cookies on this before.
All right, so this particular dog, this here is Duke, and he is contributing to food production. He's on a treadmill. It's actually a cream separator. And apparently he would walk and it would help with the separation of cream. He was owned by Mina L. Holmes, who in the 1880s took the US by storm with her award-winning butter. Weighed in a lot on butter production. She and her husband were involved with the dairy industry. This image was taken several years after that, and probably was not mentioned in her 1880s work.
He doesn't look very happy, Jen.
Would you be happy on a treadmill to separate?
No, I feel bad for him. I hope they gave him treats and stuff.
Bullseye. Oh, and notice my cat made an appearance.
Yay.
Welcome, Indy, to the show. So this is Bullseye, one of Target's mascots, and the stuffed animal is from the 3D collection, and we collected that after it was distributed at the Republican National Convention in 2008.
He is looking very patriotic there.
Quite.
Yeah.
The image on the right is from the AIDS Walk, I believe within the last 5 to 10 years. And so Target regularly participates in that. I think this is actually the Target team that participates in the walk.
Oh, yes. And who knew that Pillsbury had a dog mascot as well? So that's Flapjack from the 1980s on the left. And then got these 2007 cookies with another dog mascot. This one isn't actually a Minnesota company, but if you remember, Uno Branding was the reason that we had toilet paper in the collection. Uno Branding is, again, the reason we have this box in the collection.
Dogs are not supposed to eat chocolate chip cookies.
No, I imagine that that would have been addressed by someone later. I haven't seen this particular brand on store shelves here.
Maybe that's because it didn't make it very far.
Maybe.
So going from dogs representing businesses, we've got an actual pet grooming business featured here. And so a nice contrast to one of the earliest images of dogs in the collection. This was taken in 2000, but it has the distinction of being one of the first born digital photographs in our collection. So this image here of Grand Groomer was taken with a digital camera in 2000.
Yes, and this is from 1918. It was actually made at Fort Snelling, one of our historic sites now, but it was made as part of an occupational therapy program for soldiers who were coming back from World War I. So World War I was kind of the first major conflict where people were surviving pretty massive injuries because we had penicillin by that time. So this is part of that program to rehabilitate soldiers before they were sent home. And salt and pepper shakers. These lovely kitties our salt and pepper shakers that came through the Minnesota State Fair, and just noticed that they are gendered kitties. So the yellow kitty is holding a purse, and the other one is holding a cane, and that's weird, but amazing.
They're so sassy. Do you remember the year on this? Was it 60s?
60s, yeah, 1964, I want to say.
A lot of these resources, if you're interested, are available online. You can look in collections online. You can look up salt and pepper shakers. That's always good for some fun. You can look up dogs and cats together, things like that. But it's a wonderful resource for people to take a look at. So I want to remind you that we also have the History at Home offerings up on mnhs.org. And as well as our Histories Now COVID-19 Health Crisis Collecting Initiative that we're doing. We want to encourage people to take a look at that, please, and share your stories and thoughts with us. But thank you for sharing this time with us. Thanks, Jen, for helping us out here. Your photos were awesome.
Thanks for inviting me.
So next week, maybe we'll have more animals. Who can say? Anyway, thanks a lot. Take care, everyone.